Already it's been a fantastic few hours here for me. Right from the morning and even yesterday in the informal interactions, meeting not only the students but my esteemed co-panelists, your faculty, some of them, your director, who everybody talks about his humble demeanor, right? That's the first thing, humility, and people are spending money to attend a seminar and read a big fat American published book on how authentic leadership and humility is a value. I think 5 minutes meeting Mr. Janat Shah is better than attending a $100,000 seminar, I think. So of course I know I'm a smart guy to come here and learn, but I'm just overwhelmed. So if I just ramble something, the blame is on you people, okay? I'm Udaipur. Okay. So jokes apart, when we talk of change management, I just want to share some 3 thoughts with you about change management when the topic was disclosed. And before that, I thought I'll mention one quote which I happened to see a few years ago in some HR seminar, if I'm not mistaken. Sam Pitroda, it seems, made this statement. Even if you don't agree, I think it's a very profound statement or thought-provoking statement, and it's somewhat similar to something Ganesh said earlier, the format of it. So he said that one of the problems he thinks we are facing as a challenger in India is that we are trying to marry 21st century technology with 20th century processes, where the bulk of the country is still operating with 19th century beliefs. And like I said, even if you don't agree on the specifics of it, it's a thought-provoking statement because I looked at this statement, heard it a week ago, but I'm able to connect many different things to it. He's talking of us trying to make coexist 19th century beliefs with 20th century processes with 21st century technology. So I thought it's a good opening to some of the thoughts I had. So the 3 thoughts I have are, number 1, when we talk of change management, yes, there are wonderful models, frameworks through experience and case studies, the books, John Carter of Harvard, and 8-step process, and there are 4 C's and 4 B's and all those things. Wonderful things, relevant things, but I think today it is a fact that change management is no longer one chapter of your section in OD, organization development. I think change management is something at the individual level and at the organizational level is something which is just a core aspect of life, business life, work life, and our own personal lives. And I think we all know it or we suspect it, and some of the other topics will remind you that this is the case. So I think it behooves us to really become more familiar, intimate with this whole process and its challenges. The second point I want to say is that, in my view, every generation of senior people experience people. And unlike the Gen Y, Gen X kind of 10-20 year cycle, when we talk of senior, most of you, if you start your work career after your course, within 5 years you will feel you have understood the industry and how things work in industry. Okay, some of you may have already got some work experience, you know it. So roughly 5 to 8 years, I think the generation of seniors in any organization changes, some people move out and things like that. According to me, every generation has severely, in the last few decades, has severely underestimated technology, its pervasiveness and its impact. And I will share a few thoughts about that. And that, therefore, it means that all of us here, the experienced or the young people, need to keep this that, we underestimate that, and therefore it has implications for the change manager. The third point was about these 2 things what I said and the related aspects have huge implications for all HR practices, leadership development, career planning, career frameworks, which is a pet topic for me. That's how I happened to move into HR after spending about 17 years in the software technology business side, when my company started a new initiative on career planning and development. So it's a topic close to my heart, and I have some experience of mistakes and learning many new things about it. which my colleagues have taught me, it has huge implications for all these things and how organizations are managed, businesses are managed. So I'll just sprinkle a few other thoughts related to under these three broad themes. So the first is, I'm sure all of you are familiar with the phrase called VUCA, right? VUCA, VUCA. It stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And there are a lot of seminars with the phrase in the title, so it must be a very hot topic and a rich enough, fertile topic. And that is why I said that change management is no longer a subtopic or a chapter in an HR textbook or an organizational behavior textbook. I think change management is something we all need to really understand and get to the guts of it. It's a core aspect of our lives. One interesting thing I feel is that a lot of the research on the brain structure, the neurosciences as they call it, is validating some of the old psychology models or how humans behave, which was more anecdotal and observational, and why we behave the way we behave. Some of you must have heard of books like Predictably Irrational and The Upside of Irrationality. There is a huge field developing called behavioral economics and behavioral finance, and two communities of professionals who never spoke or respected each other, namely economists and finance people and psychologists, are actually sitting together and realizing many new things about human behavior. Obviously, all this has implications for change management. It also makes us humble, because when we say irrational, I think most of us, your director also talked about one of the 4 pillars that the institute is trying to have, which is emotional intelligence. We know that emotions are a different aspect of human behavior, human brain, than the rational, logical, analytical. But when we say predictably irrational, the new behavioral research is saying that we are not only irrational when emotions overflood, and emotions are a much bigger part than what we thought, but there are systematic biases and errors in the way we think. There are a lot of interesting experiments which have proven that. You can almost predict what a person will do, however qualified they are. Even if they have a PhD in finance, they will make some systematic mistakes. And luckily or unluckily, the huge investment banking crisis, which has turned into a global economic crisis that all of us are a part of and victims of, perhaps some of us are perpetrators of, if I can say so, is also partly explainable with this research coming out of the irrational behavior of the humans and the human brain. So I feel, so one of the things that I see that this research, it's an interest area for me, is also showing that traditionally if you talk of personal change, suppose I want to acquire a new habit or acquire a new skill, or I want to change certain behaviors in me, that used to be the domain of what is called self-help books and literature. There are n number of inspiring books. You can read biographies or you can read lessons from people who have accomplished things. So self-help. Now, there are certain people who would say, I don't read self-help books or I don't believe in it. Many people do and see value in it. Now, when you talk of organizational change management, that is a very, sober topic left for the big consultants and big consulting companies and HR gurus and management gurus. So you have the John Kotter model and you have many other models. Some Indian HR gurus have also done good work in that area, I believe. And you have all that. But that was seen as a different thing about how to implement change. Okay? And traditionally this was seen as different. And if you talk of societal change, organizational change, my friend Domi here really, I'm sure, made you suddenly transported you from your career, this seminar, to a very, very large scale global kind of situation with respect to environment and healthcare and poverty and whatnot. Okay, that those things are left to the big transforming agents and sociological studies. But the neuroscience is showing that at the heart of individual change, you and me, and organizational change, the typical resistance that is faced, and the way the leaders and the HR have to do communication, etc., that and the societal change, transformational change, all have certain common patterns of human brain and its behavior. And that is something very fascinating. One of the books I can suggest is a book called Switch by Dan Heath and Chip Heath. One is a Harvard professor and another is a consultant, and they have collaborated and written this book called Switch. That has case studies of individual change, organizational change, and societal change. and they have a framework which looks at all of them using a common lens, so to speak. So that's one point. I talked about change management is a core. It's no longer an OD subtopic. Okay. Second, I talked about underestimating the pervasiveness and impact of technology. This again, I'm coming from the software, techie, business and side and technology industry, but I'm not here to glorify. When I say impact, it's both positive and negative. Okay. Just to throw some examples, I remember when I was a visiting faculty at one of the Bombay B schools many years ago. In the first lecture itself of the first my such taking up an assignment of visiting faculty, a couple of students came to me after the lecture and very humbly and politely they said, you know, we are going to be talking, you talked a lot about IT and all that. I'm talking of 97, 98. And they said, it's all fine, internet, but all this is good for technical people or big cities and big companies. But then India is a land of, you know, farmers and poor people and rural, right? India lives in its villages is a well-known thing. And how is it relevant for all of them, or how is it going to help? And to tell you, I was stumped and I just mumbled something, not so great, clever answer. But it made me go back and start researching and reading this, and I kept at it. And over the years, many things have happened. And today, I know that it was a valid question, but today very few people will ask such questions. Yeah, there is the famous example of Kerala fishermen going out to the sea and totally at the mercy of the middlemen who decide the rates, and obviously who pay very less to the farmers, bargaining that yours is a perishable commodity. If you don't sell quickly to us, it's going to spoil and go waste. But because of mobile phones, which in India has been the biggest, one of the biggest revolutions that we have all seen, just happened within a few years, they are able to directly eliminate the middleman, talk to different people, and before the boat reaches the shore, they have completely done all their deals at excellent rates, and it has improved their economic condition and all the good effects of that. So that's a good example. I've heard of a lot of these innovative people who quit their corporate jobs and start some small idea. I don't remember the name, but there is this guy, I am not sure whether it's Gujarat or Punjab, it's one of the two. There are a lot of innovations happening in these places where he has this technology, simple technology, where using SMS, which we all know is one of the very highly used thing. Using SMS, the farmer is able to switch on or switch off the water pump. I'm sure some of you would have heard of it. And it's a fantastic thing. The water wastage is less, the cost and everything. So this is again technology really impacting in the interiors and in small communities which otherwise don't have access. So this is the positive side, but obviously negative side, there are any number of funny, not so funny things happening. Some of you may have heard there are BlackBerry widows and BlackBerry divorces happening, right? Middle of the night, and usually the men are blamed, I think fairly on this, are totally, addicted to constantly looking for using various gadgets and information. So that's a negative side. We have new diseases like information anxiety. I'm sure some of us know aspects of this. Even as I'm talking to you, I'm not going and checking, maybe there is a mail, maybe there is something. There are newer and newer tools, and we have not really mastered our basic human habits to make good use of this technology without getting to feeling that we are at the mercy of it. So that's kind of the impact, but it's happening. And the other thing is, I think we underestimate the inevitability. I remember I was in the US in 1990 when cable TV happened in India. And I had limited access to Indian news. Internet was not there. I know, very difficult to believe for most people in this room. But there was no internet and all that. But I remember reading in the paper about Indian news while I was in New York City that the parliament debated whether to allow broadcasting of these bad channels and all these new channels. And then finally the Supreme Court of India, this is what I remember, had to step in and tell the government of India that you do not own the air. You do not own the air. If you want to regulate broadcasting, you come out with regulations. You can't just say don't broadcast or it cannot be broadcast or you're not authorized. So given that, I think it's inevitable, it rolls on, whether it's legal, illegal, when technology is possible, it is going to happen, right? So the last thing I mentioned was about the huge implications. Again, a pet topic for me. Throughout my career, my life, I have faced this question of me abandoning my something, okay? I'm only giving you a flavor of it. The story is much more tragic and much more richer than this. I did my graduation in civil engineering. When I enrolled for MBA in Bombay for MBA Finance, specialization in Bombay University, the popular question from uncles, aunts, well-meaning people, and even friends was, to civil engineering, chhod diya. In fact, some of them said, oh, you left engineering and you're going for this MBA thing. Okay, then I did MBA Finance. From campus, I joined a very relatively unknown company called Citicorp Overseas Software Limited, which was doing banking software. They said, you went into IT. Most of my MBA colleagues, they couldn't, they said, you did MBA and you're just abandoning your management and going into this IT industry. If you wanted to do it, you could have gone earlier without an MBA, which is true, right? And then, of course, in software, I've been to quality management and so on. And after 17 years, when I moved to HR, people still ask me, have you abandoned software? Are you going to continue in HR? And my answer is the same. I don't know, right? I don't know. So this traditional compartmentalization, and I'm very happy because every time I go, I've been trying to go to more of these networking events in Bombay. There is an HR Infotech Association of HR professionals. There is Society for Human Resource Management. I got the good privilege of even addressing some of them and sharing some of the work I was doing using strengths approach for career planning and so on and so forth. What I found is, I used to, for the first 1.5 years, believe it or not, I used to introduce myself apologetically. Because all my credentials or achievements would be in the software and projects and internet technology and all that. But in HR, I'm a newbie, I'm a child. I'm very happy donning that hat. And I used to introduce saying, oh, I'm working at iFlex, Oracle, whatever. And then I would say, I'm actually not from HR, I'm a software guy. The joke was, every second person would say, even I was in ops, even I was in finance, I'm in HR. And I felt so happy, I can't tell you. In fact, the first person I met in the first event I went was on 12th December 2006, was Pads or Padmanabh, Executive Vice President Human Resources of TCS, largest IT company, grandfather of all IT companies in India. And I went and he was a speaker in a panel discussion like this. And in the cocktail dinner event after the panel discussion, I went and introduced myself. And I told him that actually I'm not from HR, this is my first day in HR. I told it sheepishly, just went and told him. And very casually, he was wearing the suit and all this, and he was just standing there and, big guy, and he just said, I'm also not from HR, because TCS listed, they wanted somebody, I'm an ops man. And sure enough, later on, he took on back to Tata Power in some ops role. So these have all been very inspiring little incidents, anecdotal evidence. Even here when I came, I met Medha yesterday over dinner. According to me, she may not tell you her bio and all, don't be fooled by it. She's a pro-amateur photographer, she's a brand ambassador for a lens camera company and all that. Incidentally, she also does a lot of work in HR and career planning, on which we talk. My friend Bomi here, I met him a few years ago. He's an executive coach who has done some innovative video coaching to people abroad, okay, leadership coach. And then suddenly I see the invitation from IMU and it says Bomi Manekshaw president. Now, Bomi Manekshaw could be, Bomi is a kind of a famous Parsi name or a popular Parsi name. Manekshaw is very memorable because we know the great legendary Major General Manekshaw, Sam Manekshaw. But I sent him an SMS saying, if you're the same Bomi, we'll meet in Udaipur. And here he is as Cadila Healthcare and he's talking to us. It's so interesting. And then I met Rajendra, I've not met him at all. So he just said, I'm new in IT and I was in shipping. And point is, all this compartmentalization you need to remove. For the sake of convenience, it's human nature to box and classify, categorize things. That is just an entry point. Whoever I interacted as students over the lunch and everywhere I've been telling this, it's good to know the compartments for understanding. Do not be fooled or misguided by it. A lot of borders are blurring today. Is Flipkart one of the Indian e-commerce success stories? Is it an e-commerce company? Is it a book selling company and now selling, I don't know what all, cosmetics and gadgets? Yeah, is it a .com company? What is it? Is it a publisher? I don't know what else they will do. Yeah, is it a platform giving company? It's all this and more. And this is just one random example, but anywhere you scratch the surface, you will find change is happening, and it behooves us as good students of business to really keep our judgment a little bit suspended before latching onto these compartments. So these are some of the themes I thought I'll just share, and then we can have discussion. Thank you very much.